All right. Well, it looks like everyone is here who is going to come. Of course, people can always come later. But first, this is the webinar for Research Management Software Part 2, How to Organize Your Research and Notes with Zotero. So I am the PFF Associate Director, Shelby Lamar. We also have Jonathan Aragon, who is a PFF Fellow co-hosting. So he'll be watching the chat for us. And if you have any particular questions, he can jump in as well. This is part of Preparing Future Faculty, and Preparing Future Faculty is also a part of the Center for Academic and Faculty Excellence at CGU. So let's go ahead and get started. First, just a couple of things to note. Feel free to use the chat or unmute yourself for discussion and questions as we go. You're not going to bother me at all. I have turned on the transcription if you would like to see that. And this webinar will be recorded and made available for others to view, but your name and picture is not recorded unless you say your name out loud. So it will be pretty anonymous. All right, so my first question for everyone is, did you get a chance to watch or participate in that first webinar? So go ahead and answer that quick poll for me. I just want to get a feel for where we're at today. And it's not necessary, you don't have to have done it. I just want to see how many people have done part 1 so I can get a feel for where everyone is at today. All right, it looks like most people did get to see part 1, if you all want to see the results real quick, but about a third of people did not get to see it. So feel free to stop me at any time and ask questions. And if you want, you can go back and watch part 1 later. It's on our website, and I'll share that link as well in a little bit. So Jonathan did the part 1 for us. Okay, so my next question before I jump in is, what do you hope to get out of today's webinar? I have an idea what I was thinking of talking about, but I want to hear from you all. What do you actually want to get out of today's webinar so I can make sure to give that to you, and so we can discuss that. Feel free to call it out or share it in the chat. Anything in particular you're really wanting me to cover today. Manage my madness of resources and learn how to come into the age of computers and not sticky notes everywhere. Absolutely. Totally get that. Getting the most out of Zotero, organizing, writing papers more effectively. Absolutely. How to best use Zotero for research needs. Yeah, awesome. I also have I still do use some sticky notes, so I don't know if it'll completely solve your sticky note problem, but it'll definitely help. So let's see. Add another tool for CGU. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, perfect. How to use all facets of Zotero. Awesome. So let me get started showing you what I was going to cover today, and then I can also, I'm hoping to leave time for questions and more demonstrations on anything that you all are specifically wanting to know. So I'm going to talk about how can Zotero be used to organize your sources and notes and ideas, and then where to go for even more help with Zotero. So those are the main things I'm going to be talking about today. All right, so first I'm going to go over what the Zotero library actually is, what collections are. I know it sounds like very basic, but there's some very basic things you need to know about the library versus the collections that's really going to help you in the long run. We're going to talk about group libraries. We're going to look at how to find and fix duplicates, find those unfiled items. Then we're going to talk about tags, how I use tags, how it's important to help you differentiate between what collections are, what tags are, how to find stuff in your library after you've been using those for a while. You're going to get a lot of stuff, right? So making sure you can find stuff, and then also talking about the attachments to sources. So I'll explain more about this, but I just wanted to give you a brief overview. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and actually open up my Zotero so you can get a look at it. Okay, so let me share my screen, and I'm going to actually share my whole screen. So give me just a second to get all of your faces to the side here. And then I'm going to share my entire desktop with you. So let me see. Am I sharing the right desktop? Can you see my Zotero here?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, let me get this PowerPoint out of the way too. Okay. So this is my whole desktop. I'm going to make Zotero even bigger so you all can see it. All right, so the first things first is let's talk about the difference between what your library is and what collections are. So your library is where all of your sources are going to live in Zotero. And that is separate from or different from collections. So what collections are is basically what Zotero is calling your folders, basically. So I want to make it really clear that all of your items live in your library, and then the collections are just when you are grouping some of those things together. So why this is important is because if you ever decide, I don't need this folder anymore, you can right click and say, I want to delete this collection. That's perfectly fine. You are not going to lose any of your sources or your items unless you click delete collection and items. So for instance, if I go to my library, I pick one of my sources, I can see, and I'll show you how to do this. If I hit option on my Mac, I can see it'll highlight where exactly this source is in one of my folders. So why this is important is you can have sources in different collections. So multiple times. So I've worked on a paper, used a source, put it in one of my folders, and then I also want to pull it into one of my other folders, and that's fine. You aren't duplicating the items. They are just in, they're essentially groups of stuff that you're working on at the time. And so these collections can be deleted without losing your items. They can be remade, remixed, and everything is going to be good for you. So it's just basically a way to put them in a group so you have less items to work with on your particular project. So as far as organization is concerned, I use collections for projects. So if I'm working, this is what I'm pulling up as an example of my qualifying exams collection. So I had a collection for my qualifying exams, and I broke those collections up into each of my exams. So I had an exam on the Hebrew Bible, an exam on the Quran, and an exam on the Bible in the United States. So that's how I broke those up, because when I was writing the, how we do is we have questions and we write essays for these. So these were pretty self-contained, and it helped me think more clearly about what I was doing to have these particular projects. Some of the other things that I've done is, for instance, if I'm writing a particular paper, I'll have a collection for that. And then when I'm done with it, I just put it in like the Z archive folder, just so I can get it out of the way and I don't have to look at it anymore. It's still there. I can always go back and reference it, but it's just a little bit out of the way. So I did a presentation and I put some of my references in here. So it's just, collections are a way to organize your items into projects is how I like to do it. That what am I trying to say? It's up to you how you want to do it, but I am going to show you what I think is best as far as organizing these things. So any questions on the difference between your library and collections? Because I've had people in the past say like, oh no, I deleted stuff from a collection, I can't find it anymore. Well, it would still be in your library. Okay, let me know if you do have any questions. You can put it in the chat, or again, just speak up. Okay, now I want to show you the difference between your library and a group library. So one of the best things I think about Zotero is you can actually work with other people in group projects. So this is great for if you're still in coursework. It can also be a great way to work on joint papers, joint presentations, conference papers, those type of things. Or if you're in a lab, it can also be great to share papers in a lab. So one of the things to remember is that your library and the group library are separate. So if you want to add an item to your library, it's not going to show up in the group library. And if you add an item to the group library, it's not going to show up in your library. So they are different. So if you want to keep one for yourself as well as the group, you need to add it to both of those places. So for instance, when you're searching for something, you'll need to either pick your library or the group library. And you can drag and drop items into either way, either place. So you can drag it into one of your own folders, you can drag it into like the group folder, but they are going to be different. So it is nice in case someone in the group decides to delete a particular source or add a source, they're not going to be messing with your own personal library. Okay, I think that was one of the more basic items, but I wanted to make sure people understood the difference between those. Any questions?
Yes, someone asked about the icons next to the articles indicating they want to know what it means. I think they're talking about if it's indicated as a book or periodical.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the things next to the sources here tell me basically what it is. So these little icons are a book. This one is a journal article. This one is a web page. This one you can see is like a blog post, so it has a little bit different icon. There's also icons for like if it's a YouTube video or podcast, they have different things like that. Not those icons. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to get to that, but just really quickly, these little colored dots, is that what you're talking about? Yes, okay, great. So that's actually part of the tagging system, and I will totally get to that. So, but those are going to be super useful. So let me keep going with collections, but great question. I'm glad that you noticed that because that's one of the best things to organize your stuff. Okay, just the next thing I wanted to talk about real quick was the duplicate items. So if I don't know if you're like me, but when I start to search for a new project, I'll start collecting things that I've already collected before, right? And so I'm like, oh wait, did I read that article or not? I'll just go ahead and put it in. So I'm just going to show you an example of every now and then I would go into your Zotero and just click on this duplicate item section, and it'll show you if you've added something twice. And the reason to make sure that you don't have duplicates is, so there's been a time where I've worked on a source for a paper and I've taken notes on it and added things to it. And then later I've added the source again, but I would want to keep all of my notes together for that particular source. So what you can do is just hop over to this duplicate items, click on it, and it'll say, hey, you added this source on 8/6/2020 and you added it on 9/29/22. And then you can say, okay, I'm going to merge these items. I'm going to pick which one will basically override. So if I want to keep the earlier version or this later version, you can pick which one. So I'm just going to merge the two items. It'll disappear and you haven't lost anything. They have simply merged the two things together so that you don't have two items and take notes separately on it. And then you're like, wait, but I thought I already had notes on that. That just prevents you from duplicating your work, basically. So do check the duplicate items. And then the other thing is unfiled items. This is where things end up if they're not in any of your collections. So if you have items that you've added to your library, so they're here, but they're not in any of your collections, they will show up under your unfiled items. These are fine to stay here. You know, you can see that like I have these things that I haven't put anywhere. And sometimes that can just happen, you know, because you want to save something, but you're not working on it in any particular project. That's fine. That just lets you know that they are there. Okay. Now then, so I've talked about your library, what collections are, what the group library is. I've talked about duplicates and where to find the unfiled things. So now let's talk about the really getting into that organizational system by talking about tags. So one of the things that really makes Zotero powerful is the ability to tag. So different people do this a different way, but what helped me the most was, like, again, use collections for a particular project and then use tags for two things. The first is for a status of your source, and the second thing is for like a topic. So I'll show you how this has kind of worked in my own work. So let's go to my Hebrew Bible qualifying exam. If you look down here in this, you'll see all of the tags that are in this collection. So these are the tags that are currently being used in this collection. If I click on my library, you can see all of the tags in my entire library. So this is why it's good to use collections for a project. That'll keep you focused on what you're really wanting to work on in this instance. So there are kind of two types of tags. There are 9 options for you to use color tags, and then an unlimited number of tags that you can use for other things. So why this is really useful is when I add sources to a collection, I have 3 main tags that I use that are color tags. So the first one is, well, I don't have any read next because I read them all because I've already done this exam. But I usually use a read next tag, and this lets me know, okay, this is the next source I want to read, but I haven't read it yet. Not just I haven't read it yet, but this is the next one I want to tackle. And by using that, lets me have a starting point when I come back to work the next day. Like that's the tag I use for, like, this is the thing I'm currently reading, or this is the thing I want to read next, because sometimes it can be overwhelming to look at a list this big, right? These were all of the things I needed to read for my exam. And it was overwhelming. And if I just in my head was like, okay, this is the next thing I need to use, it really helped me out. The next one I use is the green one, wrote notes. It means that I actually wrote out notes for this source. And when you click on a tag, it will narrow down everything you're seeing to just the items that are tagged with that, if that makes sense. So if you can see I've selected this note. So how this could be useful is if I'm writing and I'm like, okay, I need notes on something in particular. So I'll say, okay, what have I written notes on that focuses on womanist, like theologies and stuff. So I can select both, and it's going to narrow down any source that I have written notes on, and that I have also tagged with womanist. And then you can see I could still narrow down even further and say, like, that also talks about Ruth and Naomi. That takes me down even further. So that's a way that you can really narrow down if you have a long list. Okay, so let me show you how to set up these tags so that you can have color tags. So if I wanted to assign a color, and that's where those little blocks of color come in. So you can immediately see, okay, all of these with the green I wrote notes on. All of these with the blue I have just highlighted. I didn't actually write notes on it. So if you want to turn a tag into a color tag, you right click on it and then click assign color. Do you all see this pop up? I want to make sure you can see it. Yeah, okay. So you can select one of 9 colors here. And then it also has position. Now, position is, it's just a fun little trick. Basically, if you select a position, and you have to if you select a color, is basically when you hover over one of the sources, you can hit that number then. If I hit number 4, you can see how that color will then pop up for that particular source. You see how it's popping up there? It's just like a little quick thing to make it faster for those colors. But what I really think is truly important about it is that it does show the color, and you can have multiple colors. So I can have, all 3 or 4 colors if that's what you're wanting, or all of those tags. I think it was just supposed to have a green, but there you go. And so this really gives power to immediately see what you have in your sources and to really drill down quickly. And Jonathan is asking about keywords. I'll get to that in just a second. Yeah, there are automatic keywords that pop up. So I'm actually going to remove the color from this tag now because I don't really want that there. You can also rename tags. And I do that sometimes because as I'm working on a list, as I'm working on this list of sources, I'll say, oh, you know what? I named this, has something that I'm working with slavery on, but I actually think a better explanation might be, I don't know, something else. And so you can right click and rename it a different tag. You can also delete a tag if you want. So there's a couple different ways to tag something. Like I said, you can use the color tags hitting 1 through 9 and it'll automatically tag an item. You can click and hold, and you can drag an item over 2 tags and it will automatically tag the item. Or if you go over here to your right, you see this kind of control panel. There's a tag option here, and then you can click add, and you can add whatever you want, and it will tag it, and then you can see the tag here in this list. And then if you want to delete the tag, just right click and then hit delete. You can also, if you hit this little button, it'll also delete that tag. So be careful there. Okay. There's also this down here. Now this is actually quite important. These colors are referencing these little tag colors, I believe. But if you click on this button, you can deselect all the tags. You can display all the tags in the library. So you can see if they're grayed out that I don't have any works with this tag in this collection. But if I go over to my whole library, you can see that they are all there, except there's still a few grayed out, and that is because I am seeing the tags also from these group libraries. So it gives you a clear indication of kind of where tags are being used too. So, but I don't want to display all the tags in the library. I find that overwhelming. I just want to see the tags that I'm working with currently. So that's what I like to keep it listed on. Now then, as you bring in items, Zotero has, in my opinion, this terrible option for tags to automatically be added to your stuff. Please turn that off, because otherwise you're going to get random tags that Zotero or someone else has decided kind of match what you're looking at. And so I really encourage you to turn off automatic tags, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So go to your Zotero preferences. You want to pull that up, and then it's right here under the general option. You can see I have it turned off. So automatically tag items with keywords and subject headings. Do not, you're going to have, it's automatically turned on. So when you do this, click it off. You don't want that option turned on. Make sure that there is no check mark there, because it will automatically pull weird ones in. You know what? I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how weird these tags are that are automatically used. So I'm going to turn it on real quick, and then I'm going to open up, let's see. Okay, so this is an example one I pulled up because it is Halloween time, right? So if I hit my automatic save to Zotero button here, it's going to save it. And then it should pull in automatic tags. Let's see if it did. It might not, because I usually have that turned off. Okay, it didn't do it. Let me see. Let's see if it'll pull in automatic tags. Okay, it won't do it. Maybe I, because I've had it turned on like that for so long. Let's see. Or maybe it heard me and it knows I don't want the actual tags, but what I did was I hit this button that is syncing Zotero with my online backup library to see if that would cause it to start going. So I'm actually going to move this item to the trash. This is how you remove an item. And I wanted to point out here something as I do this. You can remove an item from a collection. That does not delete your item. That just removes it from this folder. Or you can move an item to the trash. That will delete the item from your entire library, not just that folder. So, and I don't need the geography of Halloween, so I'm going to actually move it to the trash. And you can always go to your trash and find it if you're worried about that. And you're like, oh no, I didn't mean to do that. But I want to see one more time if it will save this with the tags. It might not now that I've turned it off so often. Let's see. Oh, do you know what it is? Why it's not grabbing tags? It's because I'm doing a Wikipedia article. Hang on. I will, I need to use a library article. That's what it is. Sorry. Let's see. So let me show you what happens when I pick up I didn't spell that right. Oh, yeah, I did. Okay. So let's say I'm going to grab this article or this book. It looks like a book. And it's saving it. And then when I go over here, you can see it in my library now. And okay, it still didn't add any text. Anyway, just, I guess, trust me that the tags don't make any sense for your own work, basically. What you'll end up with is if you do something like Halloween, for instance, you would get, Halloween, you would get like black cats, you would get like stuff like that that are not what you're going to be looking for. So I'm actually going to turn that back off because I don't want, yes, I do want to move it to the trash. Okay. So that is the main thing about tags in particular. So just to review, your collection, your library holds all of the items in your library. Your collections hold particular projects. Your tags should say what is the status of this item and what is the subtopic of this item that is of most use to you. I really think you shouldn't have more than 5 tags for an article usually, or a book or item, I should say, because when you get a ton of tags, it makes it really hard to find what you're looking for. I think tags are most useful, honestly, for the status information, because that's really, Zotero people usually add a ton of stuff at first, right? You'll just do your search to try to find all of the things you're looking for. And if it doesn't have any status for me, like if I have not tagged it with anything, that means I haven't actually read it, I haven't highlighted, I haven't taken notes, I haven't done anything with it. And that just lets me know that it's something that should be on my list of things to do. Let me show you what I mean by highlighting an item too, right? Okay, so this is a PDF. Which one is this? Okay, this is what it is. So I've opened the PDF that is attached to my particular item, and it will open within Zotero. If you want, you can have it open in Adobe or something else, but I really like that it's in the same screen. And I've gone ahead and highlighted things already. And if you want to do this for yourself, you just do that, and then you can select the highlight color. Okay, now I'm done highlighting this, and what I want to do is now bring all of these highlights and make a new note. So if you right click on the actual source, you can say add note from annotations. What that's going to do is make a new note with everything I've highlighted, including the page number and kind of the citation. So you can see I highlighted a lot of stuff. It was a long article, but it will now this annotation note will stick to this item no matter where it moves in your library. So if I use this item to write another paper and I say like I move this into another folder, all of that stuff is going to move with it. It'll be in both places, and all of the items move with it. So if that makes sense. Is everyone following along? Who has questions? So I know I still have more to cover, but I want to make sure that we stop here and ask questions, because I think the collections and the tags are really the most powerful thing. Yeah, someone has their hand up.
Yeah, it's me, Shelby. It's just a quick question. Can I choose other colors there? Like you highlighted the yellow notes, and then can you choose just the blue or just the green?
Absolutely. So when you highlight, you can select whichever color you want. They have purple, blue, green, red, and yellow. And honestly, when I am also, if you want to delete it, just click it and hit delete. When I am reading, I usually use different colors for different things when I'm reading a source. So if I read something and I disagree with it, I usually highlight in red. If I read it and I'm like, okay, this is just an information point, I'll usually highlight in yellow. And then sometimes I'm highlighting, I need to go look something up, and I will highlight it, for instance, in green. And that's just my personal preference for like how I'm using those highlighting colors. Some people, might do like main points in yellow or whatever you want there. So yeah, but you can also right click something you've already highlighted and change the color.
Yeah, but the question is when you go there and you can kind of gather all the annotations together.
Oh yeah.
Can you choose then instead of the yellow, the blue or the green? Or is
okay.
taking everything together?
I see what you're asking. I don't know. Let me check this. I've not tried to pull anything particular, like any particular color. Let me see. So, no, I think it would pull out all of the colors no matter what.
Yeah, that was the question. Would be great if you could like choose the color.
It would be great. Absolutely. Yeah, I know on the left-hand side here, I can select a particular color. Let me see if that would work. No, it'll still pull everything. So yeah, when you click on it and open it, you can select just the particular color, but it doesn't look like you can, when you move it into the annotation notes, you can't, but what you could do is come over here and use your highlight section. You can also do highlights here after it's already annotated. So not exactly what you're looking for, but there might be some workarounds. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyway.
Yeah, no problem. Who else has a question or clarifying?
I have a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you add the citations into a Word doc, can you select based on tags?
I don't think so. I don't think that is a power that there is. Let me check real quick. So let me pull open an example document. So if add a citation. I don't think I can. No, at least not from the quick one. let me switch to the classic view. Okay, so yes, the answer is yes. Let me show you how to do it more slowly because I know that was quick. So when you add a citation into a Word document, this is the new selector that pops up. So basically I can put in the author's last name, the title of the document, whatever I'm looking for, and it'll give me a list and it'll say, is this what you mean? And I can click it, hit enter, and it'll add it, right? I'm doing in footnotes right now, so that's how it's ending up. But if you want to do it by tags, that is possible. You just have to do it a little bit different. So instead of using the simplified search, switch over, hit the Z, hit classical view, and then you get this bigger search item. And then when you go over here, select all fields and tags. So now I can put in, and be careful because it's by collection here too, right? So this would be next, this would be great if you have a whole lot of things, but I don't have any read next there. I should have, there, okay. So you can pull it out just like this. So if you're looking for a tag and if that's how you want to do it, hit OK, and it will add it just like the normal selector. So this is the normal one, and then you can go to classic, which has an advanced view and you can do it by collection or however you want to find the source. That might be more useful as you see more, as you add more and more sources. So good question.
Yeah, that's really helpful. So if you wanted to put in, if I wanted to put in a string of citations as a reference, and I just wanted to take all the articles I tagged with PFF is great, I could just select them all there and populate them at once.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's talk a little bit more. If there's no questions, but please stop me if you do. Let's talk about how to find stuff really easily. So as you can see, my library is quite extensive. This is from years of using Zotero. But it can be hard to find things. So I actually don't think it's hard to find things, but it could be if you don't know how to look specifically. So there's two different ways to find things. One is to use search, which is quite powerful in Zotero. So if you hit down here, you can search by title, creator, and year. You could do all fields and tags, or you could do everything. So what it means by fields and tags is under this info here, it will search all of these, and it will search all of the tags for what you're looking for. So if we're looking at my tags, I usually don't search by tags because I can just like select the tag here. But let's say anything with Bible in the title, things like that, it will pop up. What I find super useful also are these columns. So this is something that people usually miss, is that you can change by right-clicking on this right here. You can select what you're seeing, like the columns you're seeing. So there are tons of different options. I have this set up for exactly what I want to find easily. So I have it by creator, year, date that I added it, and whether or not there are attachments for the source. And you can see, and you can also like add more things though. So you can see here, I can see like if it has an attachment or not. I can sort these by when it was added to my library by clicking on it. I can have all of the creators alphabetized or the titles alphabetized, whatever I want to take a look at. So there are other options though. You can do item type, you can do publication, you could do journal abbreviation, if you really pay attention to what journal it comes from, things like that. So feel free to set it however you want. And that really helps me find what I'm looking for. Let's see. The other thing is, oh, that's not, sorry, accidentally clicked on that. You can reset this by hitting that button right there. You can also resize this. The title is the most important to me. So I have that really big. See how the cursor changes when I get to right between those columns. You can drag those around. So that is really helpful for finding items as well in your library. So let me see. I wanted to make sure that I covered everything. Finding stuff, attachments. Oh, I wanted to briefly talk about different kinds of attachments. And this is the other main thing I want to talk about before I really open it up to who has questions and stuff. When it comes to organizing your notes and organizing your thoughts and stuff, what you want to do is attach it to your items. So when I take notes, what I do is right click on an item, add a note, and then it lets me write in my thoughts, my questions, my ideas. You can have however many notes for a particular item that you want. And this is different from add notes from annotation. When you click that and have this come up, this is all your highlighted items, and you can edit this as much as you want. But I think it's important to summarize what you're reading, to ask questions of what you're reading. And this is a good place to put that, because there's been so many times when I've read a book in a class, for instance, and then I go to write about it a year later, and I can see what I was thinking was important at the time and what questions I had about the text at the time. And then I will frequently go back and make a new note and say, like, here's what I'm thinking about this source now, or, but look at my other stuff to see what I did think was important there. So this is a magazine article. So you can see that I made a PDF of the magazine article so that I could highlight and save it. But I also took, when I pulled it from the website, it also created a copy of that web page that is now permanently saved. So even if this website goes away, I have a copy of this in my own library. Now then, all of the links won't necessarily work unless it still actually works. But this is great is to save it in your archive, because things on the web are not permanent. And so anytime you're wanting to pull in a blog, a periodical magazine, anything like that website, be sure to let it take that and save a copy for you, not just a PDF, but an actual copy, because sometimes you need to go back and show, this is where it came from. So that's just a side note. But that is how I organize my own thoughts. Now you can also tag your notes themselves. So if you have a particular way of, maybe you want to mark all of your notes that are questions about a source, a particular color, you can do that. Maybe you want to tag them as all of the facts that you're pulling from those things. So it gives you a lot of options for organizing your research. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second so you can actually see my face, and we can have a bit more of a conversation. What do you all think of this type of organizing? Like, do you think it would work for you to have collections, status tags, and then tags that talk a little bit more about the topic of the sources? And also, if there's any questions, what do you think like think about your own work. What collections, like what projects might you be using for your own work? What tags do you think would work for you? Okay, I have a question. Can you show how to export collections to an Excel or Google Sheet, for example? Yes, absolutely. So there's a lot of different ways to export these things. Let me reshare my screen. Wait, did I share the right screen? Can you see Zotero? Jonathan, are we looking at the same thing?
You're looking at, we're seeing your notepad.
My notepad. Okay, let me. There we go. I thought it looked wrong. Okay. So, so if I want to export an entire collection, I hit on a Mac. I'm not sure what the actual key is. I just hit Command A, so select all. Or you can right click on the actual collection. And there's the option that says export collection. You click on that and you can actually export it into a lot of different formats. There's CSV, you can do HTML, Markdown, whatever you're wanting to export it as. And you have the option to also export the notes or not. Let's not do that for now because this is a big collection. I hit OK. And then it says, where do I want to save it at? And we'll just say desktop. You can rename it if you want. And then let's see what it looks like when I open this on up. You can see that this is you can see the Excel, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is what it looks like. It's going to have this key, which is an identifier you don't necessarily need, but it'll have the type, publication, year, title, all of those normal things. Some of these looks like hashtags because it's just not, the column's not big enough. But you have all of this information running out there. So don't want to save that. I hope that answers your question. I also want to point out that these can be exported as a bibliography itself. So let me do that. So I'm going to export it as a bibliography. So after you've done all this work, you can, I'm just going to copy it to the clipboard here, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's actually pasted in. So that's not what I wanted to pull up. I thought I had an example here. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so at the end of your document, you can just hit paste. Then you can see the whole bibliography from that collection is alphabetized. It is correctly formatted for Chicago, which is what I am using for this document. And you can see that it's all set up really nicely for exportation here. You can also hit this button, add edit bibliography, and it will pull everything that you have used already in this document. So that's the difference. If you add or edit bibliography from here, it's everything that you've currently used in this document, but you can also right click over here and export the entire collection from that space. I think I have another question. So if I start with the process, it seems easier, but how do I begin the process of putting the written stuff into Zotero? So clarify with me, you mean like how do you start using Zotero and putting stuff in here? If that's the question, let me.
I think it was to see how to do import.
How to do import. Okay, got it. So let me start a new collection. We'll just leave it untitled for now. So whatever you want to title it. There are plugins for Zotero. And you can see these here. I'll put this link in the chat as well. And there's some other things. But you have plugins for Word, obviously LibreOffice, sorry, Google Documents, and that's how I'm putting it into Word. But there are also, let me go to the Firefox connector for Zotero, and that's what I'm currently using. And it puts a little button right here that imports everything right into your Zotero. So let's go back here. When I hit the little button, let me pull this up. So hit the little button and it's going to save it right to the collection where I have Zotero pulled up. And it will pull all the information right here. I always want to double check this before I finish. I don't consider a source officially added to my Zotero until I have double checked that this information is correct. It does a really great job of pulling stuff, but sometimes it's a little off. Like this says number of volumes. That's not what should go there, right? So I would delete this. And if I wanted to see, it was 105 pages, right? Now I consider that source actually added. And then I can come in here and say like, okay, I want to read this one next. So I hit my number 1 key. Or if I decide like, I've finally written my notes, I can drag it over there and then you can see that it shows I've written those notes. Okay. There are a lot of different ways to add sources. You can enter the ISBN if you hit this button. You can manually enter items right here. They have a ton of different ways to do that. You can also do attachments to anything from this direction or from right clicking as well. There's also a standalone note if you just want to make a note to yourself. Sometimes I will do to-do lists in my collections and I will start just saying like, next thing I need to do is search for document on whatever. And then the next thing I do is email my advisor with bibliography or whatever it needs to be. Okay, was there another question?
So I'm not sure if Nathan was just wanting to know how to get started with the connectors or to import from another tool. But if you go to like file and import, I think if you're using something else like Mendeley or EndNote, you have a couple options to import the library.
Yes.
From like a RDF file or a bibtext file.
Absolutely. So if you go to file and import, you can import a lot of different, it's Mendeley or, like EndNote, things like that. You just select it, whichever one it is, continue, and then wherever you have that file, you can just select it and it will automatically import the whole other library. Something I would note is when you do import, select if you want to keep things the same when you import things from other libraries, and you can do that there. You can also export all of your Zotero stuff if you ever decide you want to leave Zotero and do something else. I don't plan on doing that just because it is the cheapest option right now and it's open source and I feel good about that ethically. But, if maybe you get tenured at another university and they say, here's EndNote for free, you can use it for the rest of your career, I might change then, probably not because I know how to use Zotero, but you can export it to another place if you want. Okay. I'm very used to handwritten notes working in special collections, but I can add the resources like you showed and just retype my notes. That is true, Nathan, but I would also say that this isn't for Zotero necessarily. Where's my phone? But if you use, I think it's ScanSnap. I'm sorry, hang on just a second. Let me pull up. It's Scannable. So this is an app for your phone, and it will take if you hold your phone with Scannable enabled, it will turn whatever piece of paper you're looking at into a PDF, and then you can actually attach that PDF to one of these things. So you don't have to completely rewrite your handwritten notes. You can just attach your handwritten notes here. And I do that sometimes, honestly, because I don't always want to work at my computer, especially if I'm working with a physical book. I will write notes in a notebook, use the Scannable app to turn it into a PDF and then just upload it. Or if you just want to take a picture with your phone, you could upload that as well. I mean, if you want to rewrite your notes, I think that's great, but you don't have to. We can still just very quickly add these to your library. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just easier to keep it organized. Sometimes I'll do that if I'm in a meeting with my advisor, for instance. I'll be writing all my stuff, my ideas and stuff on a notebook, and then I will actually upload those notes to Zotero for me to keep later, like as a snapshot or as a PDF. I have done that before as well. Okay, what other questions do you all have?
So the magic wand, somebody wants to see you copy a DOI from an article and then paste it in to add the metadata that way.
Awesome. Okay. So let's just keep looking at this Halloween book here. So here's the, you can use the ISBN or what, DOI or whatever you have. So this is a book, so an ISBN is the right number. So I'm just going to hit copy here. So copy that, come over here, use this little wand, paste it in here, and then it will pull the information, and you can see that it's formatted a little bit differently. So I prefer to pull it from the website using the connector instead of the wand, because I feel like it pulls more data using the website connector, but you can definitely do it using this too. And then if you want to use an article, for instance, instead of a book, let me see if these all look like books. Let me pull an actual an article. So okay, so if I want to look at an article and do the, oh, I guess this one doesn't have a, oh, here it is. So you can do it that way too, or the ISSN. So there's a lot of different ways to add those using that little magic wand. Let's see, Larissa, did you have a question?
Yeah, actually, the question was more like if you use the Zotero connector and it downloads the information about the article, but it misses the DOI, if you can then look for it inside of Zotero, the other way around. Because
Yes.
I know you can do that in website, like go to the check ref, I guess. But is there any tool that you could use within Zotero to look for the DOI?
Not within Zotero.
No? Okay.
Yeah, you would have to look on the website for it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, not within, let me see. Not that I'm aware of, at least. Yeah.
I think you would have to then manually add it.
Yeah, you would go ahead and manually add it. So if we switch this over to a journal article, then you have the place right there to add the DOI or ISSN. Yeah. Okay. Lots of explanation, or I guess I just realized what time it was. I'm so sorry. If you all need to leave, please go ahead. We have used up all of our time today, but before you go, if you wouldn't mind, please do the quick poll we have. I just want to, see if there's anything I could do better. So please do fill out the poll for me. I also wanted to, let's see, just real quick, I was going to share our upcoming events too, and I can still hang out here. I just wanted to get that poll in. And then let me show you just, this is the basics of, kind of what I went over today. I also want to share all the links that I wanted to share with you in the chat. So some of these are for Zotero, things like that. We went over all of this. If you want more help, you can go to the library. The Zotero website also have tons of help. And then our next webinar is Starting Your Course from the Ground Up by Noah Ringler. I also wanted to tell you about a free conference that we are offering. It's the Online Learning Consortium conference. It's November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. There, you can watch it online, or you can come in person to campus. We're going to all be in a room watching it together. You can come and go as you please. We're going to have some coffee. And please, if you're interested, do register for this. Even if you don't want to watch it in person together, or you can't make those particular times, the recordings will be available for anyone who registers. So this will give you access to all of those recordings. So please do check that out. It's just a really great professional development opportunity. And then here's some more information about PFF. And I'll leave it on the screen for Zotero things really quickly. Okay. Now I'm going to stop sharing again. And so who else has questions? Thank you for giving me just a second to run through that in case people have to leave. But what other questions you all have? I'm happy to walk through anything I covered today or any other just random questions you all have. Jonathan, was there anything you had a question on?
No, I think that's it. I just wanted to know how to add things through tags.
Right.